Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. Sorry we're a little bit late. We had some technical issues. As always, we have technical issues. I hope everyone can hear us fine. Hello to AllShorts. Hello to Graham. Do you want to say hello to everyone on the stream?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone on the stream. In the stream. Dancing
Great.
on the stream.
So I just want to say hello to a few people who are on the stream as well. We have Denzel, great to see you. Draconic, great to see you. Joe, Dano, Killer, Zoe Castles, CGM, Joe Green. Who else have we got? Itchy back.
Hello.
We also have Jared, great to see you. Giorgio Buxton, No DLC, and so many people on. Wow, we're up to 212 viewers. That's 170 more than what's his name, the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer had.
Keir Starmer
had like 54 viewers or something like that.
Jesus.
Valerio sent us a super chat. Nice to see all of you in the same live stream. Yay! So guys, the super chats tonight are going to go to a very worthy cause. It's going to be the solar panels for Ginger Island. Graham, would you like to tell us a little bit about that? What happened with the solar panels, and then we're going to get into some. We're going to talk about.
Should we talk about what Ginger Island is first?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll change my background. So this is Ginger Island behind me, and it's an island that I won in a Survivor-like game show on American TV about 7 or 8 years ago, and I lived there for 3 years off grid. It's only a little island, it's only 2 acres, and I lived on solar power and rainwater collection, and I had a little speedboat that I could take into town when I needed beer. And it was fun. It was really fun. And then in 2016, obviously the referendum happened. And also my dad was diagnosed with dementia. And so eventually I had to come home and help look after my dad. And while I was here, I thought, well, I'll try and stop Brexit. Did that go, Max?
Could have gone better.
Could have gone better. I actually stood as an MP. Do you know this? I stood as an MP in 2017.
Did you?
Yeah, because I had stupidly written the Facebook post saying, right, I'd sent a letter to my local MP, who was Stephen Twigg, and in Liverpool, saying that if he voted with the Tories to enact Article 50 without any provisos, amendments, that to protect EU citizens living here or British citizens living in the EU, that I would stand against him in the next election, confidently thinking the next election wouldn't be to the far-flung, year of 2020 at the time. And then a couple of months later, I sent this letter off to him, and I don't think I've got a response, but I put it on Facebook. And so 2 months later, Theresa May calls a snap election. I'm sitting on the boat dock in a hammock on my island, and my phone, it's all like beep, and I'm like, what God, what's happened? Who's died? And I look it up, and it says, Theresa May's called a snap election. I was like, damn. I've said that I've got to stand for election now. I stood no chance of winning. West Derby is the second in Liverpool, is the second safest Labour seat in the country. I think I got beaten by about 36,000 votes.
What about net? Would you run again?
I don't think so. I mean, you can't win unless you're part of a party or you're famous in your own right, or you have, like sometimes you get doctors running and things like that, which is fantastic as independents, but there'll be a one issue candidate for a local issue, which will be a hospital or something like that. I don't know. I got my fingers burnt in politics back when I was a student in Manchester, and I vowed never to go back, never to go back. Brexit kind of dragged me back into this whole sort of mentality of waking up and finding out what's happening with politics. I'm not kidding, Max. Like 10 years ago, if you had asked me who was in the cabinet, I'd say Cameron, Cleggy from One Foot in the Grave, whatever it is, and then no, that's the Summer Wine, and that's it. They were the only two people in the cabinet that I could name years ago, because I just took such a little interest in British politics and what was going on. And then it all went horribly wrong. But I went back to the island a couple of times in the last sort of few years. But I haven't been back for 2.5 years. And I had someone looking after the island And unfortunately, they left the island without telling me. The island was abandoned for a couple of months, and I was desperately trying to get somebody else to be a caretaker on the island. And in the meantime, my solar panels, my solar panel batteries, my toilet, the paneling on the walls, the decking downstairs, and my cooker, my fridge, my sinks, they stole the kitchen sink, all went. All went.
Even the toilet.
Pillaged by pirates. They even took the toilet, pulled it down to the ground. It was a nice toilet, what can I say?
Hardly used.
But I don't begrudge them because I wasn't using them, and I can see the interview of the locals.
Are you like King of Vegas?
Say again.
What do you mean you weren't using the toilet?
I wasn't there.
Oh!
There was nobody on the island.
Oh!
To all and sundry, it had been abandoned. So then I got a new caretaker, Ishmael, and he's been looking after it ever since, and he's been brilliant. He's fixed up the boat dock, and he's fixed a lot of stuff that's gone wrong. So we'll meet him next week because
have you met him in
person? I going back
in person though?
Yes,
Ishmael,
yeah.
You have. He's a real person. He's not like one of these.
He is a real person.
Oh, that's okay.
Call him Ishmael.
He's not like the people that keep like sending you friend requests on Facebook.
No, they're real as well.
Are they? Oh, okay.
It's just a coincidence that they made their account yesterday or at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Joe Green, thank you so much for that super chat, Green.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Joe.
AllShorts mentioned something about Anne Whitcomb. Can you, Graham? Can you tell us something about Anne Whitcomb?
I'm going to leave this. Marcus keeps trying to get me to watch his latest video, and the thumbnail for it is a half-naked Anne Whitcomb that he's made on Photoshop. I'm going to be spending 6 weeks on an island with this guy, who thinks a good use of his time is to make semi-pornographic pictures of Anne Whitcomb to put on YouTube to give people PTSD. So can you tell us? Can you tell us? Liberal plot to
Can you tell us? So what's happening next week between you two guys? You're going to the island, is that right?
I'm going back to the island, first time in 2.5 years. Marcus has never been there before. Now, I know Marcus because he started doing videos. What, this year? When did you start doing the videos, Marcus?
I've been doing videos for a while, but regarding this lark, that's what, about January I started doing the politics.
Yeah, January. And he made a video saying, what happened to the 3 blokes? And he pontificated about what happened with the 3 blokes, which I watched. Just put him on my radar. I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this guy. He started dropping into the Discord server after my shows each afternoon or whatever. And we got chatting, and it turns out he's not just a consummate YouTuber. He's also a professional carpenter, and he's a qualified electrician, and he's a boat builder. Kind of handy for an
all at the same time.
Quite handy if you need to put in a new toilet.
Yes, a new toilet made of wood on my boat. Yeah. Electric toilet made of wood on my boat.
Up and then we can glaze it with some bit of epoxy resin. Oh, it'll be lovely. you just won't watch it, and that's all. Oh.
But we're going to be live streaming. We're going to be live streaming the whole thing, like 9 hours a day. It's just going to be. if you're bored or you just want to have something on in the background, we're going to be fixing stuff on a tropical island for 6 weeks.
Fools of ourselves because we're going to how do you put it? Can't say it. Cock up. That's it. A lot.
There's going to be a lot of cock ups. There might be some injuries. Hopefully nothing too severe. The island is only 20 minutes away from the nearest hospital, so that's good.
And I will be pranking Graham quite a lot.
So it'd be a bit like Big Brother, for those who remember Big Brother.
Yes, there'll be no sitting on board.
Brother meets Love Island meets Lord of the Flies. We'll get to see who gets to be Piggy.
So you're going for six weeks, and what are you planning to get done? To refurbish everything, install new panels?
The big things are the solar panels need to go back in. We need to get. I salvaged the solar controller and the inverter, so we need some new batteries. We need new plumbing put in. We need to refresh the walkways around the island. We need to make the island essentially habitable for Airbnbers. So when we come back, we can open up the island and people can actually stay there.
Okay, great. We also need to get the solar sorted out so we can actually facilitate the shows.
Yes. If we've got no power, we can't actually live cast anything. But I've sorted out internet, so we are going to have internet when we get there. But we do need power for the internet. So
cool. Okay.
It's quite a big thing, isn't it?
Well, let's jump to some questions we have for both of you guys and for me as well. I think it is. The first one is from Boomerage. Sorry.
Is it multi-choice?
No.
Pass.
I'll get them wrong as well.
The first one is, what do you think of Volt, which is a pan-European pro-European party in multiple countries? It's pretty small at the moment, but it seems to be growing. Are you familiar? Are either of you familiar with Volt?
I've heard a little bit about it, but I wouldn't say I know much about it, to be honest.
I think it's a good idea to have a pan-European party. However, it's a bit superfluous in our really stupid first past the post system. What we need is a coalition of Labour, Lib Dems, the Greens, Plaid Cymru, and the SNP, and all of them work together, don't stand against each other, and they would absolutely demolish the Tories in the next election. Doesn't matter the Tories. You know, when you see you get the polls and your heart kind of drops because you see that the Tories are still on 40%. Yeah, but that means 60%.
Yeah.
And say Tory, and we need those votes.
I've got a question now. What would the purpose of this be then? You got like saying here like there's 60 electors, representatives across Europe, and thousands of members, volunteers. So what would be the outcome of this?
That would be good if we can have people who actively promote the EU in countries, because that's something that we didn't have ever in the UK. EU was always something we tolerated, and no one had anything good to say about it. You think about it, I don't remember anyone coming in, oh yeah, the EU, they sorted us out with that new stadium. Oh hey!
Yeah, that's great, but you've still got you got a media that ain't going to help much, you know.
Yeah, but we've got social media. The old dinosaur media is dying. I mean, the Sun doesn't make money anymore. Rupert Murdoch is 197 years old. He's not long for this world. He can't be. Although he probably does drink the blood of unicorns to keep himself alive. But, you know.
Babies. Little small babies.
Baby unicorns.
Yeah. No, they're just babies.
Okay.
Just by the babies. 100
Just a technical thing, Max. I'm being told my volume is bad.
Oh.
I don't think there's much I can do about that at my end.
You sound fine from here.
Let me boost you a bit. Okay, try now,
I'm
Graham.
going into my user settings. Hello.
Maybe that's a little bit better. I hope. We can keep an eye on the stream. If it doesn't get back, I can try and boost it again. So yeah, for me, the Volt is a good idea. As we said, we need pro-European parties. There are parties that are pro-European, but they're not pro-European primarily. They just have it as a side issue. But as you said, in the UK, it wouldn't work because of first past the post. But I'm thinking this is more in European elections. At the moment, they're quite small, so they don't have a huge amount of support. I'm not sure how they can grow, because people generally don't vote, even on in the European elections, on European issues. They vote generally against the government or against the incumbent on local issues, or as a protest vote many times.
Turnout is always really bad, isn't it? That's how come we got Nigel Farage, isn't it?
Exactly. The man who will not be... Oh, Derek McCall has sent us a super chat. AllShorts.
Oh, thanks, Derek.
Like a limousine flag, I'd say Cortez, but I'm not sure if you're 19 or 87.
Limousine. I'm 87. No, not an age. The region.
Okay.
I do well, don't I?
Cortez, sorry. Thanks very much for that super chat, Derek. There's an extra
€10
€10 for the solar panel fund. Let's move on to Let's move on to the next question. This is from Cash Dummy, who says, "This is for Max. Will Max visit them remotely on the Ginger Island live stream if technology allows it? If technology allows it, I'll be there. I'll visit the live stream, see how things are progressing, see who the last man is standing."
What you can do, green screen yourself, skinny, and that will suit while we're skinny dipping. As Graham said, that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Does that involve photoshopping my head onto things? Does it?
Yeah,
onto Anne Widdecombe's body. Yeah. You can just have your head sticking out of Anne Widdecombe's bum.
No, I don't know which is worse.
Her saggy, crinkled arse. Anyway, so on the show front, the idea that we've got is that we're going to just do a stream throughout the day while we're working. So from 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock local time, which is 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. UK time, and 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. European time, Central European time. We are going to be we're going to have a locked off camera. We're going to be mic'd up, and we're going to be fixing stuff. We're going to be building stuff, or we might be going on an adventure. There are certain adventures that are there in Bocas for the taking, in Bocas del Toro, where the island is. Scuba diving, surfing. It's going to be hilarious trying to watch us try and surf. Zip lining. There's also quad biking that you can do, and you can hire a quad bike and you can race down Pablo Escobar's secret cocaine runway that he had built on one of the islands. We can also go sloth spotting. We can go and try and find some sloths. We can also go and try and find some of the strawberry dart frogs that pepper the different islands, and they're all different colours depending on which island they're from. So there'll be a lot of things other things off the island that we'll be doing as well. At 4 o'clock local time, we'll be packing in for the day, and we'll be putting our feet up and having a chat with everyone watching. And it will be like this. It will be, anyone who's allowed to sort of have a chat with us. And we'll be reviewing what we've done that day. We'll be dragging out some footage of, wasn't it funny at 1 o'clock when, Marcus accidentally stuck that thing up his bum. And we'll review that footage. And then after that, we're going to have Desert Island Discord. So we're going over to the Discord server. So the elite members of the Ginger Island tribe will join us for our live discussion. Like you know about Discord, don't you?
Cool.
We're on it at the moment.
Yeah, we're on Discord at the moment. The Ministerian has sent us a super chat, 45 Danish kroners for loincloths are in this year. Are we going to see the dynamic duo in loincloths?
That would be amazing.
Well, Marcus has got a bit of a thing for mankinis, don't you, Marcus?
I haven't got one.
That can be arranged.
Loincloth, it covers more. Like Brian.
This is going to be hilarious. Oh my god, what have I let myself in for? Jesus.
Alexis, thank you so much for that super chat. £2 for my favourite YouTubers. Yay!
Hey, thanks, Alexis.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next question. This is from Conservator to you, Graham. What's the minimum that you and Marcus want to achieve during your 6 months
stay
on Ginger Island?
6 months? What?
6 weeks.
Sorry, 6 weeks. Minimum 6 weeks.
Minimum we need to achieve is we need to get the boat working, we need to get the solar panels working, and we need it so that Ishmael can pick people up from town and take them over to the island, and they can actually just have the island to themselves, and Ishmael go and stay with his family. And he only lives around the corner on another island. That's the position that we want it in at the end of the 6 weeks. So it's habitable, it's safe, it's not like camping in the middle of nowhere. And so the repairs that need to be done, obviously making it so we have a hot shower again. Yes, you do need a hot shower even in the tropics. It does help. Hot water for doing the dishes and things like that. Cooker, refrigerator. So all the mod cons so people can actually go over there and stay. And then if it is successful and people get into it and really enjoy it, the plan is we go back next year, for maybe a bit of a longer stint, and we build an eco retreat for up to 20 guests on the island, which will be little cabanas on the island and on the water. And if we're going to do that, we need to put in planning permission way ahead of that. So at the end of the 6 weeks, if it looks like we've done quite well, we'll put in planning permission to do the eco retreat, and we'll go back in 2022 for the next part of the Ginger Island adventure, which I hope to call Paradise Bost.
Okay.
Thanks. But the whole idea of having the eco retreat as well is that you'll have your own self-contained cabana, which has got its own solar panels. It's got its own rainwater collection, and you'll have meters. You'll have a little display on the wall that'll tell you how much water you've got and how much electricity you've got. And if you use it all, you don't have a fan for the night. You can't charge your phone, and it'll make people really appreciate the amount of energy that they're using in their everyday life, even if it's just charging a phone or having a fan on. Yes, we're punishing now. We can wind them up to the mains of the island, which will be a cable that will run under the walkways. But yeah, by and large, we want people to sort of think about how much water and how much electricity they use, because I don't know about you guys, but here in the UK, I mean, it just seems to be unlimited. It's never an issue. It's never something that we really think about. I better not leave the tap on while I'm brushing my teeth.
I think probably we but I think we do, but most people don't. Can I just read out a super chat from Chris Ryan? Thanks very much, Chris. Everyone should stop mentioning Nigel Farage. He is the Brexit Beetlejuice. He only comes into existence if you say his name.
3 times.
I totally agree with that. It's that thing, isn't it? In The Simpsons, just don't look. We all look away. It's like Loser Fox and Darren Grimy. What's his name? Crafty Wank. They do it for the publicity, and they feed off it, and they make money out of it. So the best thing we can do is ignore them and hope they go away.
But I feel like I can't turn away. I have to respond to them, especially if they say something just completely absurd, or I feel like. Sorry.
You say do on a daily basis.
Or Keelhaul, one or the other.
Yes. We have another super chat from Draconic. Thank you so much, Draconic, who says, questions of vital national importance. Have you decided which flag you're going to fly on Bocas, and who are you declaring war on first?
Each other.
No. Declare war on Brexit. It's a war on error. A war on misinformation. Be good. We should fly the Panamanian flag because it's part of Panama, and Panama's got quite a nice flag. I quite like it. It's like a Battenberg cake with stars. I've actually designed a Ginger Island flag, which is based on the Panamanian colony, the Scottish colony in Panama of New Caledonia, which was ill-fated. It's basically the reason why Scottish Parliament joined with the English Parliament in Westminster.
What does the flag look like?
It's waves. It's lines and waves at the bottom, which are blue and white, and then the background is orange, red, and it's got the Scottish one had a rising sun. As my one that the sun has risen. That's the only change I made. But what about
nice. So, what about using the Wangland flag? I really like the
Wangland flag. With the face palming dragon there. Yeah, we could put up the flag of Wangland if Marcus doesn't mind. Would you Wangland with me, darling?
Oh, every day.
Thought you'd never ask.
Can I ask a practical question? Who's going to do the cooking?
I can cook.
I can do it. And Ishmael's a really good cook as well. Actually got a stove there, so there's some things that are there at the moment. We've got like a 2-ring gas stove, and you can get gas bottles from town, which lasts for ages and only cost a £5.
An old log or something. Like a rocket stove out of biscuit tins or an old log.
You can do that. I have a Ginger Island telephone thing, which is like 2 tin cans on a string, and I can shout down to the boat dock. Marcus, your dinner's ready. And you can be like, oh, and you go, but I've caught a fish, and I'll leave it.
Submarines.
We have another super chat from Wiscott's dog, who says there once was an island called Ginger. It had lovely sand you could finger with ripe coconuts to cover your butts. Make it nice again, Ginger. Very nice.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
If people do want to find out more about the island, please head over to gingerisland.com. She just appeared in the corner, which is there's loads of information on there, and there's my blogs from when I lived there. So there's 3 years worth of blogs to go through. So yeah, and there's lots of scantily clad people in the pictures. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, I heartily recommend it.
Can you explain to the missus about the postcode rule? Because she doesn't understand.
Postcode rule? What?
You said there's all these scantily clad women there, you said.
Women? No, it said people.
No? Well, people.
Women. That discriminates. Islands.
I'm not fussy.
It's going to be a very interesting 6 weeks.
Time zone rule. Yeah. But it was a different time zone.
What's the current time in Ginger Island?
Ginger Island right now it's 4 o'clock. 4:02. It's 6 hours behind during the summer, and then in the winter we move our clock, but they don't. So they're 5 hours behind. By the time we get back, I think we'll still be in British summertime.
Okay, we have another question. This is from Reagan Elite, who says, Graham, will you challenge Sir Ron to a debate on Brexit?
Oh, Sir Ron. I don't know. I think I'll hand over the responsibility for that to Marcus, because he's much funnier than me. Look at him.
Marcus, would you be up for a debate with Sir Ron?
Yeah. Who's this Sir Ron geezer?
Sir Ron Venti. I don't know if you've heard of
the lunatic with a silly hat on.
Yes.
Unlike us.
That's something about
we never do.
I don't think he's that important, really, is he? You know.
Yeah, he has a few things to say about Brexit, but maybe we can arrange something.
He wants his money back on a house or something.
Yeah, something like that. Tom, we have a super chat from Tom. Thank you so much, Tom. Send a postcard. Thank you so much. Do send a postcard, guys. GC also sent £20. Way, thank you so much. You're gonna have this mega structure for solar panels. You're gonna be providing extra energy to Panama or something at this stage.
I hope so.
It
should be a laugh though.
It'll be like UK and France and EDF.
I mean, I've wanted to get back there for a long time, but obviously because of COVID, it's been impossible. And even, at the moment, Panama and Costa Rica are still on the red list for the UK, but they're on the amber list for France. Is that right, Marcus?
Oh, sorry, what's that? What was it?
Is Panama and Costa Rica, are they on the amber list for France?
I think you might be mistaken there. I think it's red.
It's on the red list. All right, so we have to self-isolate when we get back.
Anyway. She thinks you're mistaken, but you might be right. You might want to confirm that.
Cool if we have to be in like big, like Zorb, like bubbles. That'd be great. That's what people should move around in. We don't like those Zorbs where you sort of have to go on your knees and you...
Like a hamster wheel, yeah, or hamster ball.
Wouldn't it be funny with the anti-vaxxers, the nutters today who are trying to break in to Canary Wharf's, the NHS place in Canary Wharf? Wouldn't it be really funny if someone just came along in a big bubble, just sploughed into them, knocked them all over like Skittles? That'd be great. That'd be a TikTok worth watching.
Martin sent a super chat of £20. Hey, Martin, you're right.
That's brilliant.
But, I was going to say as well that the difficulties that COVID has brought to the world, hopefully the sort of the silver lining to it will be the idea that people might want to do something a bit more adventurous than the usual stuff. They go away. So,
It's too easy to just be cushioned in your own little bubble, isn't it? And not doing.
I think people are bored. Biggest killers in the world, mate. Boredom.
I'm a bit bored. I'll see you guys later.
Stress and stupidity.
I think stupidity comes first. We have another question from Ministerian, who says to everyone here, Bovril or Marmite?
Can you tell the difference?
I love both. Have some Marmite in me Bovril. Is that all right? Big lump of Marmite. I love Marmite on cheese on toast, but we were talking about this the other day. Like, you just can't get good cheese over the Atlantic. Like, they just don't do it. It's awful. And Panama used to be part of Colombia, and then the Americans wanted to build a canal. So they said, "Hey, have you ever thought about independence? Isn't independence absolutely great? Wouldn't you rather be independent?" So Panama went, "All right then," and became independent because the Americans wanted them to be, and they gave them the concession to finish the canal, which the French had started. And 27,000 people died constructing that damn thing. And the Americans held on to it till the end of the last century. And as soon as they gave it back to Panama, Panama went from being a very developing nation to being one of the richest countries per capita in Latin America. Very quickly.
Cheese?
Oh, it's an American colony, essentially. An American
so they have cheddar.
Or chocolate. Or satire.
Something I was brought up on another live stream, and I forgot to respond to it, but it was a very interesting statistic. Was, do you know how many people died during the construction at the Olympics in London in 2012, in the run up to 2012? Do you know how many people died on the building sites and everything?
On the building sites,
probably quite high, because I've seen people die.
One.
Don't know.
Scaffold. Just one.
One. And it was because it wasn't actually on the site. They were crossing the road and they got hit by a bus or something like that. And if you compare it to the football, was it in Qatar recently?
Qatar. My God. Don't get me started.
Yeah, it's like 12,000 people per year die on the construction site. It's just
slaves died.
Yeah.
Indentured labourers who are effectively slaves, who have their passports taken off them and then forced to work for nothing for their passage from Kerala or from Pakistan or from Bangladesh to go to Doha, to Qatar to work. They're building these stadiums, or they built them in the desert, and they're going to air condition them in the middle of the biggest climate emergency humanity has ever had to deal with. There's more CO2 in the atmosphere now than there has been for hundreds of thousands of years, and certainly well longer than humanity has been being modern humans.
You're worrying about CO2, it's not a problem anymore. You've now got E10 fuel. It's fine. Don't worry.
Oh, we've got E10 fuel. Oh, that'll make it all better then. Yeah.
We've only had it in
methanol in our fuel.
2009.
But also, didn't Richard Tice say, well, it's cold today, so there is no climate change?
Yes.
The less said about Richard Tice, the better.
Private education, boys and girls.
What is it with private education? We look at John Redwood. I imagine John Redwood went to a private school, yes?
Don't think he did.
No.
I need to check on that one. I don't think John Redwood did. Check. Or maybe it was in Ian Duncan Smith. I sometimes get them mixed up. He didn't go to a private school, but he wishes he did. He changed his name, put an extra I in his name, and Duncan is actually his middle name. It's not a double-barreled name. It's a bit sad, really. He's a total grasper. And Priti Patel, the cylinder from hell, she's not privately educated. And Dominic Raab, Mr. I'm not telling you when I went on my holidays. I'm not telling you when I went on my holidays. Could you imagine that? Going into work, right? And you've been asleep at the wheel, effectively. And the people who employ you say, when did you go on holiday? Oh, I can't tell you the dates. Oh my God. People still support these people. Anyway, everyone else is privately educated. Pretty much.
But it doesn't really help, though, does it? I hope their parents kept the receipt. Yeah.
Helps them. It helps politics. One of the big things that is an invisible ceiling for most people in the UK. The political parties don't want to know you as a candidate, as a parliamentary candidate, unless you've done your stint as a councillor. You don't get paid for being a councillor. You get paid for being like the mayor, but being a councillor, you don't get paid for that job. So the only people who can do it are people who are retired, rich already. Don't know. If you're in your 30s, you're working, all the hours God sends to keep, your family afloat, and you're married, you got young children going to school. You simply do not have the time to get into working for free for a city. A lot of the cities in the UK have a bigger population than some countries, and yet you don't get paid for running them. And that's why there's so much corruption, and that creates an invisible, barrier, which was supposed to have been addressed back in 1911 with the Parliament Act, where they said, we're going to pay MPs. It was exactly the same problem. The only people who went into Parliament were people who were dead rich. So they only looked after the interests of the rich. You didn't get any, you didn't get any farmers. You didn't get any, nurses. You didn't get any people who were like electricians going in, becoming an MP. And still today, 120 years later, we're still in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
What is the profession of most MPs? Is a lawyer or solicitor?
Lawyer or journalist.
Or journalist, yes.
Like Boris Johnson.
Anyway, we have another super chat, yay, from AN98, who says, what do you think of Neil Oliver's view on COVID?
Well, he gets put on the telly, doesn't he? I think that the anti-vaxxers are incredibly dangerous. They're the equivalent of suicide bombers, because they see themselves as just doing something to themselves, like committing suicide. You're just doing it to yourself. No, if you strap a bomb to yourself to blow yourself up to commit suicide, and that's a bad thing, okay? Obviously suicide's a bad thing. Obviously, I'm not saying
it's all in the name of freedom, freedom.
But the thing is, freedom should be to do whatever you want with your own body, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. You strap a bomb to yourself and blow yourself up. So if you go out unvaccinated and spread the most deadly disease that the world has seen in 100 freaking years, something that's already killed millions of people worldwide and 150,000 people in the UK alone.
Graham, are you suggesting
2026 in New Zealand? Though.
Graham, are you suggesting that I shouldn't be allowed to drive around with no brakes in my car? It's my car.
Yes, I'm suggesting that you shouldn't be allowed because you might hurt somebody else.
Ah, yes.
You might kill somebody else. And we live in a thing called society where we've all got to look out for each other or it falls apart.
But
the problem is...
But does it depend on who you're going to kill?
No.
Oh.
Killing is wrong. It's just wrong. Full stop.
God. You're just fussy.
It's going to be an interesting 6 weeks. Richard Prosser, thank you so much for that super chat. Whoops, I lost it. Let me go back up. Yes, here we have. Have you thought of sponsors? A tentative suggestion? A sponsor for the island or for the?
Yeah. So basically, the way things work usually, that if I've ever pitched a project or anything that's gone ahead, it's always been like, we're doing this anyway. Do you want to come along for the ride? Rather than turning up and saying, we want to do this. Can we have some money to do this? That never works. So what I want to do in this context is I want to set it up so that we go away. We see if it's successful. We have the 6 weeks. And if we get 10,000 people watching us a day, that's brilliant. That'll be amazing. That'll be an absolute treat. And then off the back of that, we can then go to sponsors about building the eco retreat and make the eco retreat absolutely phenomenal. Make it somewhere that people will want to come all the way to Panama just to visit. An electric bus, stroke boat.
The only thing about sponsorships is you don't want to gain too much control of your show, do you?
And also, I mean, it's annoying when I'm watching YouTube videos and halfway through they start going, and now a word from our sponsor, and they pick up something and go, I love Carling, yay, it's the best lager ever. And you're like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? You're being paid to say this, you liar.
Yeah. I set my fingers. I've been working today. Look at the state of them. Got glue all over my fingers. They won't come off. So how do you get that Carling? Does Tim Martin know this?
Stole it off Tim Martin. I literally stole it off Tim Martin. He's one of those really annoying privately educated people who pretend that they're a self-made millionaire when he was born into money. But also he's one of those like Boris Johnson who plays a character. Like, so he plays Wurzel Gummidge, whereas Boris Johnson plays sack of custard with a stupid haircut. But like, we were talking about this the other day, weren't we, on the Discord, about the fact that no one's got any footage of Boris Johnson before Notting Hill came out. He saw Notting Hill and he went, "Oh, you know what? Hugh Grant plays an absolute gobshite in that film, but everyone forgives him because he's just like, I'm saying, I don't know, and that's endearing, and so he created this character for himself."
Can you do that again, Graham? I just want to.
I'm just sorry. I take it. I just.
Do you know what? OBS is really good, you know.
Sack of custard. I still can't get over that. I think Donald Trump was described as cream cheese injected into a suit.
Oh man.
But I don't know where the orange came in. Anyway, Cavan Lad, thank you so much for £5 super chat from Cavan Lad. Yay. We have Michael Gove on the stream. Would you believe it? Michael Gove, the official Michael Gove, sent £2 super chat.
Says, dance like Michael Gove. Dance like Michael Gove. Yeah.
Do you think any special Brexit sovereignty dust was involved in that dance?
Special Brexit sovereignty dust. Yes. Bolivian marching powder. I do believe was consumed in the making of this sweaty, weird old man in a nightclub dancing on his own video. Oh, he wasn't so rich and powerful, it'd be quite sad.
Why, man? Because I got high.
Yeah.
I love that video. So Michael says, I can show Anne Widdicombe a good time.
Oh man! Oh no!
Seriously.
No. The bad man go away. on the topic of vaccine passports, these because I went to every country in the world without flying. I'm the only person to have done it. These are my vaccine passports. Basically, I had to prove that I had been injected against yellow fever to get into some countries in Latin America and Africa. And if I didn't have my vaccination certificate, I couldn't get in the country, which is fair enough because if I brought a new strain or whatever into the country, it helps spread it. Oh, I don't have one of them. I'm not in the EU anymore, fortunately. I'll be using my maroon passport when I go to burgundy passport when I go over to Panama.
So Graham, do you feel oppressed with all those vaccines?
I'll give you the list. I had diphtheria, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, meningitis, polio, rabies, tetanus, typhoid, and yellow fever.
Sound like Mr. Burns.
Everything. I didn't have those diseases.
Oh, sorry.
I
Okay.
had injections.
Okay.
And also, I took malaria pills because malaria pills don't necessarily stop you getting malaria, but it's like getting the vaccination. It basically, for COVID, it doesn't stop you getting COVID, but if you do get it, it won't kill you, and you don't produce as much of it in your body, and therefore it's less likely that you'll get bitten by, in the case of malaria, less likely that you'll get bitten by a female mosquito that will then go on to bite someone else and give them malaria. If it gives it to a child or a pregnant woman, they might die. And malaria was one of the biggest killers in the world, and it was Bill Gates, actually. You know, the guy who puts the microchips in everyone. We're walking around with like tracking devices in our pockets, and everyone's worried about injecting things into your blood. A bit weird. You don't need to charge up.
Exactly. I got my 2 vaccines, and I'm still waiting for the 5G signal to connect to something. I don't know what.
Yeah, to improve. Yeah.
We from George, we have a super chat. Likelihood the UK could fall under a dictatorship. So a nice, jolly question there. AllShorts, do you want to start?
Go on, AllShorts.
Already started.
It's already started.
I don't think the UK will. I think Wangland could. Scotland and Northern Ireland are leaving the Union. That's it. They're gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're a dead country walking, and so yeah, Wangland could easily fall under a dictatorship. I think in the current climate, if Scotland leaves, we'll lose a lot of common sense that comes down from Scotland, and yeah, the idiots, you know, they're on the rise, aren't they? Theocracy. Set what, hundreds of years in the future? They just set it a decade in the future would have been accurate.
What chance you got when the people in charge are idiots? It's just.
It's like every time I look at the polls, I just crash my hands into my face into my hands, whatever. Face palm. Well, yeah, just weep, because you imagine the Tories are going to drop in support, and they don't. They stay level at about 40%. Why is that?
They've turned it into a religion. Brexit is a religion in this country, and you're either a true believer or you're on the outside going, I don't see what all the fuss is about. Like with all religions. It's like...
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but when people when they get to a point where they can't feed their children, they'll turn on them.
They'll turn on each other.
Yeah.
Because and don't forget that the richest people in the UK are all living in gated communities. The most shocking statistic I've seen this year is the one that 1 in 5 pensioners are millionaires. Another 1 in 5 are living in poverty. How is that right? How can we live in a society like that? Now they're going to push more children into poverty because they're taking away £20 a week. That's all it is. They're giving these massive concessions, you know, and these money to oil companies and Dominic Cummings startup schemes and all this crap. And meanwhile, British children are being plunged into poverty. And someone called up the radio, or they left a message for the radio the other day on James O'Brien and said, "Oh, it will. If you don't take the £20 off them, it will set a dangerous precedent. Every time there's a global pandemic, they'll want more money." And I'm like, "Oh, you dickhead!" Also, the fact that the price of petrol and the price of food has shot up in the United Kingdom as a result of Brexit.
But look on the bright side. They're stealing the triple lock. And all... What was that?
I'm trying to see the bright side. I don't know where it is.
What about the triple lock? What do you think about that?
Well, they want to take triple lock away, don't they? It's obviously going to... People's pensions aren't going to be protected. But they're Brexiters anyway, generally, aren't they? So it's not a huge problem.
Well, no, I mean, I have no problem with pensions. I mean, I'm on UBI, so that would be your pension, and it would go to people who have money, and it would go to people who don't have money. Something that I hope comes in is this ceiling that we were talking about with the with care, so that you don't end up losing your house basically if you get dementia. What's happening to a lot of older people in the UK at the moment. The state pension in this country is an absolute joke. Absolute joke.
We have another question from David Whelan. Thank you so much, David. €10 from David says, the three of ye. I'm not buying the round. I'm sure this is close enough. Just dropping by again. You and your boys have a great weekend, monsieur. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you. David, come out.
Well done, David.
In Liverpool, David. That €10 would buy you a round in Liverpool. Go to the Pilgrim. I swear. Do you buy a round in Bocas del Toro as well?
Well, I think I jumped a super chat. Let me see. Oh, George sent 2 super chats. Hey, thank you so much, George. He's the same super chat again. David Prosser sent a super chat. Thank you so much, David. Richard Prosser. Sorry, I don't know why I'm fixed with David. Where did I see the name David? It occurs to me that many people may be treating politics like a game show. They let entertainers lead them astray. Yes.
Yes.
If you look at people, like in the run up to the referendum, on the one side you had David Cameron, and what's his name from Scotland? I forgot.
Gove?
No. On the Labour side.
Oh, Gordon Brown.
Gordon Brown on the Remain side you had Cameron and Gordon Brown and maybe Blair, and then on the other side you had Johnson and Farage. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that their Farage is charismatic, but he knows which buttons to press on people.
That's all slogans, isn't it?
People like him. People like him, Max. They'll come up to you. Oh yeah, he tells it like it is. Like him, they warm to him. He's a good talker. He's a horrible human being. But because he smokes and he likes a pint, people think, oh, he's just like me. Except he went to a private school and worked as a city banker and has never had a proper job in his life.
I like him because he's human.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Boris scuffling up his hair. The reason why, before he has to go out to announce the Queen has died or whatever, he scuffles up his hair, is because he wants people to think that he's just like them. Even though he is a metropolitan elite wanker who went to Eton College and walked into a job at a newspaper because of his family connections and has never really done a proper job in his life, like actually worked hard. He hates working. He's a lazy bastard. That's what he is.
He's working hard at the moment.
The worst ones are people like Dominic Cummings, who calls people like me and you, Max, and you, Marcus. He calls us the metropolitan elite. This is a kid who he grew up here in Durham, where I'm in Durham at the moment.
He's not a politician.
He went to Durham school. He went to a private school here in Durham. Parents are really wealthy. When we heard he went to his mum's when he had COVID and he put his kid in a hot box of, COVID contamination for 6 hours to drive up from London. It's what any loving father would do.
Of course.
He stayed at his mum and dad, who've got a huge estate 5 minutes from Durham city centre. People seem to think that it's just in the middle of nowhere. He went out to sleep under the stars in the middle of Stonehenge or something. No.
He's not a politician, though, is he? And he's not a politician. He's just pulling strings.
Dominic Cummings. He thinks he's a lot cleverer than he is, but he's very good at convincing other people that he's a lot cleverer than he actually is.
You try to read his blogs? They're like cryptic.
Yeah, but if you look at his tweets as well, it's like reading.
Bizarre. It's like texting.
Yeah, or it's like reading, I don't know, computer code or something.
Yeah,
bizarre. It doesn't really make a lot.
Real. Not human. He's AI. He's AI. Come to take over the world.
It's like he's coding in loops. They come back around on themselves and eventually.
I don't think he's well in the head. I think he has some serious issues. And then leaving number 10 probably didn't help. Richard, thanks so much for that super chat. We have another one from Jerry Watson. Thank you so much, Jerry. Will Scotland build a hard border when they leave? That's an interesting question.
They might have to.
No, I can't see that.
He Chuck Davey. He thinks they will.
Well, by a hard border, I do think there'll be border checks, right? But I don't think they're going to build a wall or anything mad like that, because unlike Northern Ireland, where there's over 200 places to cross the border, there's only about 7 roads that cross the border from England into Scotland. People forget this. There's only Northumberland and Cumbria, the only 2 counties that in Scotland. And yeah, you've got on this side, you've got the A1, and on the other side, you've got the M6, and that's it.
I can't remember the name of the road, but the road was the highway from the west to the east. It goes into Scotland and come back out of Scotland and back into Scotland.
Is that the A69, is it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that the one that goes along Hadrian's Wall?
Yeah.
I think that's the A69. I'd be wrong. I should be thinking of naughty things.
How do we deal with that one? We just shut it.
Oh, I mean, the thing is, people aren't going to get out of the cars and walk across parkland to get in, are they? So it's fine. They just won't have a checkpoint there. No. But what they do in some countries is...
Like Rees-Mogg, he had a solution, didn't
he?
Okay, so when we
border.
go to... When we go to Panama, you'll see when we cross the border, because we're actually flying into Costa Rica, and we're flying into San Jose, the capital, and then we're taking a bus to the border with Panama, because it's slightly closer to the island than flying into Panama City, and the flight was slightly cheaper as well. And you'll see you cross the border, and there's just... I mean, you can walk across. No one stops you. You can literally walk across the border. You can spend the whole day in Panama and then walk back out. No one would say anything to you. However, if you get on a bus and go down the road, they stop every car, every vehicle going down that road, because there's only one road coming away from the border. And they just blow a whistle. You pull over and you have to show your passport. And if you haven't been stamped in, you get deported. So, I mean...
Yeah, although I think there's another way of approaching this. I think there's a possibility that Wangland could rejoin the single market and the customs union or something like that. And if Scotland is a member of the European Union, then it might not be necessary to have a border.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But that would mean Labour,
yes,
having the bull by the horns, and saying, if you vote for us, we will take you back into the single market and the customs union in the next election. But they're too scared to do that. They're too lily-livered to do that.
That's the question. So that's the question I get asked a lot. Why is Keir Starmer and the Labour Party afraid to touch Brexit?
Who's that?
For both of you. It's a question that people keep asking me.
Who's he?
I think he was the guy who set Labour up. Ian Hardy, something like that. He's the brother of Lovell, and I don't know. He's some guy. He's the leader apparently of Her Majesty's most loyal opposition.
Because he's capable. He's just pussyfooting around, isn't
he? He's really boring. But no, I don't mind him being boring if he had some policies. But
he could do it. He could do it. I believe he could do it.
Any policies at all?
But why
I
is
don't
he?
think there'll be border controls with passports and stuff. It's just going to be for goods and services and things.
Yeah.
Scotland will stay part of the common travel area with Ireland. It'd be madness not to do that. So when I say they're going to set things up on the border, I mean, they're not going to stop you walking across the border if you want to without your passport, but they will stop a big lorry coming through with electronic goods.
Let's say, for instance, Scotland does leave. You're not going to be joining the EU overnight. It's not going to happen. It's going to take several years to join. So what's going to happen in the interim? Is it going to be WTO?
No. What will happen is the EU will cut them a deal as a ascension country into.
How long is that going to take?
Shouldn't take long at all, to be honest with you. The people I've spoken to about this in the EU, they've said, I don't mean in the EU as the big massive thing of 450 million people. I mean like in Brussels and stuff. They reckon it'd be quite quick because Scotland already meets all of the Copenhagen criteria, and it was a former member for the best part of 50 years. It was a founder member of the European Union.
There'll be complications in the detail. And it'll take absolutely ages. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be like 12 months.
It would be in the EU's interests to get it done as quickly as possible.
Well, but there'll still be some.
I think it's difficult to predict because Scotland is a special case. It's not like another country. It's not like a non-member joining. It's a former member rejoining in a sense. But then not really at the same time because it's not the UK as a whole rejoining. So I think it's difficult to predict about Scotland because we don't really have a good example to use it against. Anyway,
we do. I mean, we've got the way that the WTO treated. Do you remember when they were talking about GATT 24? Was it GATT 24?
Yeah.
Was it? That was about countries breaking off from other countries. So Czechoslovakia becoming the Czech Republic and Slovakia. The big one for us in Europe was Yugoslavia splitting into 7 different countries. Most recently, Serbia split up from Montenegro, and that was there as a continuation of whatever trade agreements that were in place. They got to use them in the interim while something else was thrashed out. And that was one of the lies, one of the Brexiteer lies, wasn't it? Oh, nothing will change because of GATT 24. And everyone's like, no, that's not applicable in this case. But in this case of Scotland, it should be applicable. So they'll continue on the deal that the UK have got at the moment. But there's literally nothing stopping them rejoining the single market and the customs union as soon as humanly possible. And then membership of the EU after that is basically a matter of having representation in the European Parliament more than anything else. The big thing is being part of the single market and the customs union.
Okay, well, what happens? Say, for instance, Scotland tries to join the EU, and there's still squit going on between the UK and the EU. Obviously, there's going to be resources taken up there, but it's an opportunity for the UK to play silly buggers.
As they probably will. As we probably will. Sorry, I'm the only one here in this godforsaken place.
Just delay things. Just I see so many problems. I'm not saying, don't be wrong, I'm advocate for Scotland finding its own way because, quite frankly, I think they deserve it after all this shit. But as it stands, I just we're in a mess now. I just can imagine what it'll be then.
I don't see what the rest of the UK could do really, or the former UK, FUK. I mean, if Scotland vote for independence, then get independence. But I was against Scottish independence in 2014 because I thought we worked better as a union. Now I'm all for it because I think what we've done to Scotland, as in England, what England's done to Scotland, I think is absolutely reprehensible. We voted 62% to stay in the EU. We voted them out against their will, and now they're suffering. The people of Scotland are suffering at the fact that they can't export like they used to, and they can't import like they used to.
And what about Scotland? Scotland would love to have a Northern Ireland style protocol, and it can't. Northern Ireland gets a protocol, but Scotland doesn't. Wales doesn't either.
And Gibraltar.
Wales wouldn't want one. Wales is...
Well, I think Wales is different today. It's not
There's too many English people there.
You got 3 million people in Wales anyway, so it doesn't really...
Anyway, let's move on. We have another from George. Thank you so much, George. So people will turn on each other. That's divide and rule. Yeah, I think... Well, in regards to how I think what AllShorts was saying before about how at what stage will things break and the general public will rebel against their masters. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening because if we look at any Daily Mail newspaper, you'll see public enemy number 1 today is people in rubber boats. Public enemy tomorrow is people on universal credit who are asking for this, uplift to be maintained. There's always going to be an enemy, and they're very good at finding new ones, and they're very good at convincing poor people to be angry, not with the rich, but with other poor people.
Yeah, but how can you really pull that off? How can you say you can't feed your kids because that person is in a rubber dinghy?
I don't know how they do it, but they do it and it works.
Yeah, well, it does at the moment because at the moment they're still managing to feed their children.
But what they're masters at is emotional manipulation. They know how to manipulate people. Think emotionally rather than logically, and that's the Brexit vote in a nutshell.
But it's also like when somebody in was it in Hartlepool said, "Yeah, we're really happy that we're going to vote for a Tory because we're going to get more food banks." Really?
Well, don't forget they are uplifting after all. It's our smog.
No comment from Graham.
Hartlepool, the people who hung a monkey thinking it was a French spy.
Surely they've moved
they're
on.
not sending their best. This country is not breeding their best. Let's put it that way.
We have another super chat from David Whelan who says, for Graham, I'm a Liverpool FC fan, so needless to say, I've been. I love the Swan Inn, even if I'm actually teetotal. Have you been to the Swan Inn?
Oh, plenty of times. When I was a kid, it was a biker bar. It's a rock bar now, but it used to be a biker bar, and every Saturday night you'd see all the bikes all the way down Wood Street in Liverpool.
Did they have sawdust on the floor?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, yes. But yeah, the Swan's a bit legendary. It's a little tiny pub in the middle of Liverpool. It's been there since time immemorial, but a really cool place. Sorry, David, I'm a blue. I'm sorry. So if you want to take your super chat back, you can. But yeah, that's how I keep my sunny disposition through all this. It's just the fact that my team has never won anything for the last millennium. So if you can keep cheerful through that, you can keep cheerful through anything.
We have a response to what we were saying before from George. Thanks again, George, for the super chat. Tories understand psychology. Well, I think Tories understand how to manipulate people's psychology.
Slogans.
Well, Saatchi and Saatchi, they've worked with the Tories for years, and Charles Saatchi, is it, the wife beater? He's like that. Advertising is really human psychology. It was one of the biggest people who started American advertising as we know it, the sort of the madman of Madison Avenue, was Sigmund Freud's nephew. He's American, and he used the tricks, his sort of the works of his uncle to manipulate people into buying cigarettes, into buying cakes, into buying whatever he wanted them to buy. And it's scary. Wish Darren Brown would go into politics because he'd be boss. He could just say the right thing to hypnotise people into doing what's good, doing what's right.
And be a chicken.
I think the Labour Party need to invest in some of these people. I'm fascinated with this nudge theory. Just to give you an example of this, while I was on holiday last week, Sorry, go ahead.
How dare you?
I visited where I don't remember, it was a pub or wherever we were in, but in the bathroom, in the men's bathroom, they had the urinal, and they had a little. I'll try and post a picture of it I'll send it on to Discord or whatever. There's a little. You're inside the urinal. There was a goalpost to help you focus, but this is an example of nudge theory where you give people small examples of things, piece of information or suggestions on what to do, and it works. They've used it with Cambridge Analytica as well. Different governments use it, and I'm sure it has been used in Brexit as well.
Well, you can see like what was it now? Cambridge Analytica. Wiley was saying that they only needed 275,000 Facebook contacts to be able to reach the whole of the United States Facebook contacts.
My God!
When you consider they got like 350 million people, I imagine at least 300 million of them got Facebook contacts, profiles.
Yeah, because
Yudi Kaluda in the comments is saying, was Saatchi not the guy whose girlfriend is the lovely chef? Well, it was his wife, it's Nigella Lawson, who married a terrible man, and whose father is a terrible man as well, Nigel Lawson. Imagine, your name's Nigel. Sorry to any Nigels out there. And you think, oh, I've got myself a beautiful baby daughter. What should I call her? I know, Nigella. It sounds like something from the Slobs from Harry Enfield, doesn't it? I call her Nigella.
Yeah,
it's exotic. It's actually the name of a flower, but, She's lovely. I mean, she just seems like a really nice person, whereas the people she's surrounded by are just horrible. I feel sorry for her in a way.
Well, he lives in France anyway now, doesn't he?
Is he?
Is it like Andrew Neil? Yeah, broadcasting. Brexiteer broadcasting from France.
He knows he.
We have another question. This is from Buxton to everyone. Has Fartage completely taken over GB News?
Well, no,
he was their saviour, wasn't he?
Got sidekick, didn't he?
He's they were dying. They were absolutely dying. There were times when literally no one was watching. there was zero figures on the rating in the audience ratings. He's a popular guy, and they're going to hang on to him as long as they can. And they've got a shitload of money to give him.
Yeah, but has he still got his own show with the beer? Have a beer and Nigel, whatever it's called. He's still done that one as well as the.
Yeah, he had some pantomime guy on recently. I just saw a clip of it on Twitter.
What Mog? He had Mog on there, didn't he, with his cider?
Yeah.
And then he disappeared for a bit, and he's come back, didn't he? I was just hoping. I did a video about that. And I was just hoping he's going to stay away. He didn't. He came back.
Jim Bob Robob say my name is Nigel, so then I changed it to Jeremy, and then I changed it to Dominic. That's the conversation we were having the other day. Like, what's the worst male name? Is it Dominic, Nigel, Jeremy, or Piers? And we decided it was Piers. Yeah. Sorry to any Piersers out there, but I don't think there's going to be any Piersers watching us, to be honest with you.
Well, Piers was taken back down by the weatherman, so that's okay.
We have a question from Conservator for AllShorts and Conservator. What capacity solar panels, batteries, inverters will you take with you?
Well, it depends on the load.
We're not going to take anything with us. I'm traveling hand luggage. We're going to buy some new panels, probably 300 watt panels. Yeah, we'll get 8 of them, and then wire them up I've got a solar controller which can take up to, what was it, 150 volts, was it, Marcus?
You want 150 volts in a string, so that's like wired in series, so it's maximum voltage you can put in the inverter.
Then that'll go into 8 6-volt batteries that'll be connected to make a 28 volt bank, which will go into an inverter, and the inverter will we'll turn it into AC power, 110 volts, American style AC power. But the N2 batteries, you can use them as 12-volt batteries. So anything that's 12 volts, we can run off those batteries. So water pump, CB radio, battery charger for the phone, or just a charge cable for the phone.
Cool. I just want to respond to a comment in the chat who said it was Christopher Biggins he had on. Yes, it was Christopher Biggins, somebody who I had to search online for. Who the hell is this Christopher Biggins guy? And then I discovered he was in pantomime or in theatre or something. And
was he on TVAM?
I'm not sure. He was in some movies in the 70s, I think. And but he supports Brexit because the Europeans are taking too much of our money. That was his reason for voting for Brexit.
I just can't understand how people can't understand the concept that you put money in and you get more out. It's simple.
Make £2 billion, £2 billion a week through the trade we get to the EU. A week. We've lost £1 trillion of assets. That is mind blowing. And every time I say this, people go, "Oh well, money moves around." Like £1 trillion is 1/64th of the GDP of the planet. It's an insane amount of money. If you stack that up in £50 notes, it'd be 5 times higher than the International Space Station.
It would be like being, if you went to the gym and you paid £10 a month or whatever it is to be a member of the gym. And when you left, they actually gave you money on the way out. That's what the European Union was like. You get all the services, but you also get money as well. But like it's
that's the funding.
Yeah.
But it's always down to the point of where the European Union were spending the money on where it's needed, not on where the politicians wanted it spent.
No one really
makes a good point.
The value of the market.
It says British exceptionalism. The Gammons will not admit they're wrong.
Exceptional.
Which is a huge thing. It's a huge thing. I mean, when I said the deadliest things, what did I say? Boredom, stress, stupidity, pride. Let's add pride to that list. People are so proud that they've made this decision and they can't back down from it. And people say, "Oh yeah, there's Remainer nows," but I've not met any Remainer nows. I've not met anyone who voted for Brexit. And has actually said, "Oh, I'm really sorry that I did that." I don't want an apology to me, personally. Just think, they should feel sorry for doing that. But I haven't met any in real life. I've heard of a couple on Twitter because it gets retweeted like crazy, possibly because they're so rare.
Yes.
It brings me to a point, actually, when we might have heard it, somebody phoned in, he was really apologetic because he voted to leave and he then regretted it to James O'Brien's show. And this bloke was in tears. We need a few more people like that, really, who just have a bit more remorse.
But my problem with these people is sometimes they go, I was wrong to vote for Brexit, but the next election I'm voting for Boris. that doesn't correct the mistake.
He is the goose that lays the golden eggs for the Tory party. And when people say, "Oh, he's going to resign," I'm like, "No, he's not. They're not going to get rid of him because they know he's good for the polls. He can get through anything. If he can get them through this fucking pandemic where he's killed 150,000 people through his own ineptitude. They didn't die of COVID. They died of ineptitude. We live on an island. We could have closed the borders and we chose not to. We wanged on about, we need to control our borders for 30 bloody years. And then finally we get to control them like we've never controlled them before. And we don't do it. We leave our country wide open to any kind of variant, people coming in with COVID. And the absolute, I mean, it's embarrassing when you see grown people saying about Boris Johnson, he's doing his best. They just want to ruffle his hair, don't they? They want to ruffle his hair. He's doing his best. He's some special needs kid who came second in the sack race. Do you know what I mean? He's the fucking Prime Minister. Well, what the hell? We're not running a charity here. We're running a £2 trillion empire. Well, I know it's not an empire anymore, but you know what I mean. Business empire. But yeah, it's so sad. There's a great bit in Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children, which is one of my favourite books, and it involves this guy who owns he's a British guy and he owns this apartment block in Bombay. And when the British leave in 1947, in August 1947, the Indian women are describing this guy, and they say they always just wanted to ruffle his hair because he's this tall, handsome British guy, and he had this hair that every woman wanted to just do that. And I love this scene as it's painted in the book. In August 1947, when the British pull out, lowers the Union flag for the last time, and this is in the courtyard in the middle of the apartment block, and everyone's looking on. And once the flag's down to the ground, he takes off his wig. He's completely bald, and he walks on. And just what a great metaphor for the British Empire. What a great metaphor for it all. Do you know what I mean? And it works with Boris Johnson. The people think he's charming, and people think he's a good laugh, but he's horrible. He wouldn't piss on people if they were on fire, especially a lot of people who vote for him.
Yeah, but you go on about his hair. You can't judge people by his hair. You know? Well, it changes.
No, that's why people see him as a lovable rogue.
Sort of like a straw comb over, going kind of weird. I don't know what's happening.
Who's that MP? Who's that MP who has that weird? Who looks like Boris Johnson?
He doesn't like Boris Johnson.
No.
No, I think I know you mean. I need to find out now.
That scruffy guy who went to a private school and everyone thinks he's a god.
He looks like he's been beaten with a bat a few times and got, I don't know, smallpox or something. I don't know.
What?
That was weird.
I was talking about the scruffy guy who went to private school who's got a bewildering personality cult. That's not Boris Johnson.
Yeah, but
there's a guy who looks like Boris. He's like if you ordered Boris Johnson off Wish, and then that's what he looks like.
You're talking about Drew, the professional Boris Johnson impersonator friend of ours.
No. He's an MP. He's actually an MP.
Oh, he's an MP. Okay.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
I'll find it.
He's really good.
Anyway, I'll just continue with another question about the island. It says here, for Graham, is there fresh water on the island?
No.
We can recycle urine. We've got to make it.
Yes, like Kevin Costner in Waterworld. I forgot that. If he's got something that can change, that can filter water for piss into, why can't he just take water out the ocean? Surely that would be less disgusting. Anyway, but
it'd be great if he actually discovered that at the end of the movie.
There's no water on the island, but there's water above the island that likes to fall on the island. The island is actually technically in a rainforest, and we get, when they talk about somewhere getting a couple of inches of rain a year, and they're like, oh, we've got a lot of rain this year. In Panama, in Bocas del Toro, we get 3.5 meters of rain a year. So we never run out. Well, we've had some times when there's been like 2 weeks without any water and people have got a bit worried. But generally speaking, unless we have a very long, prolonged drought, which is unusual, the water just falls from the sky. And if it doesn't, we're only 20 minutes from the nearest supermarket. We can go and get ourselves a 6-pack and, kick back.
And for Graham again, will you have AllShorts on a leash all the time on the island, or will you let him run free from time to time?
Well, I'll put him on a leash if he wants me to.
I'm not sure what the intention of that question was.
I like to get this.
Yes, no. What I've asked Catherine to do, my partner's called Catherine, she's got 2 young kids. I've asked her, if they're watching the stream, I've asked her to give me a buzz on WhatsApp so I know that they're watching, so we can be on our best behaviour. No sexual innuendos, no swear words, just, kids are watching. Kids are watching. Yeah, really.
It's a bit late for that now. I go to a question on the super chat from Richard Prosser again. Thank you so much, Richard. In what way or ways should the system be changed I would get rid of the political parties myself. So back onto politics. What ways could the system be changed? What type of system would you prefer? Can I jump forward? Can I jump in with the first response, and then we can hear from you guys? So I'm an advocate of referendum or referendi, if they're done correctly. I'm a supporter of maybe e-voting, e-democracy, where people can vote by mobile phone, but in a very secure way, like, you know, the way you log into online banking, you have a special code, and it's pretty secure. Something like that. But I'm a huge advocate for having people informed. So like in Switzerland, where people vote in referenda, generally there's a lot of information provided beforehand. People are hopefully informed when they make their decision, but there's more interaction with politics in general. People are more engaged, and I think there isn't enough engagement, and people generally just, be it for good parties or not, we generally vote in the same way as our parents or grandparents or great-grandparents voted, and I don't think that's the way to go. So I'd be an advocate for e-voting and e-democracy, more referendums on issues that affect all of us. And
I think when you remove obstacles, you're going to get people to vote.
Sorry, go ahead. Say again.
You've got to remove the obstacles. If you remove the obstacles, people will vote. And like you say, e-voting is the way forward. So if that'd be the only way any kind of a referendum system would work. Because at the moment we have a biased, there's certain class of people that seem to want to vote. A lot of people don't bother.
I think Graham brought up. Yeah,
Yes.
I think Graham brought up a valid point earlier as well about how, if you look at the older people, it's generally if younger people don't get involved in politics. He was saying earlier about a councillor, but generally younger people don't get involved in politics because they have other things on their mind. While the older people, they're busy, they're working. The older people generally have more time on their hands. They have more.
You flip it. What you do is you have a cut-off point. Old people are not allowed to vote.
I wouldn't go that far, but I disagree with you on this one, Max, because I don't think the referendum's a good idea, because people do make uninformed decisions on stuff and gut instinct comes in, and it's all well and good saying, well, we'll inform them, but the way the media is set up, the way things are set up, you've got a few very wealthy foreigners who basically run the whole world as far as the media is concerned in the UK, and what they want will get pushed through. Also, you've got the problem that, look, I mean, in any given population, a third of people care, a third of people are horrible, and a third of people are not interested. We get about 66% people turning out for elections and stuff. And I don't blame the 33% who don't turn out to vote, really, because they've got better things to do with their lives, and politics is... I don't know. This, but it's boring. It's boring. Compared with all the other stuff you could be doing. You could be raving, you're taking drugs, you're having great sex, you could be, I don't know, jet skiing.
Really let's be honest, it's not really an excuse.
You could be zorbing into a group of anti-vaxxers. I mean, there's loads of more exciting things to be doing than reading what...
You can multitask.
If I could answer that question, I would like to see much more community engagement. So I want to see councillors and MPs having weekly sessions in the town hall or in the church hall for each parish, for each constituency, where you can go and meet your representative in person and you can put things to them and what you care about and actually have a meeting. We don't even need to do that in person anymore. We can just do it on Zoom, because everyone's been using Zoom the last...
Got better things to do, haven't they? You said
I mean, the people who want to be engaged can be in that way. But one of the problems that we've got, and just generally in society at the moment, is there has been a huge societal breakdown in that we don't go to the pub together like we used to. The local pub, we'll go to the city centre pubs where we don't know anyone and we'll just talk to our friends. But the idea of having a local is kind of that the locals have all died in this country, and with them and the decline of the church, people aren't meeting their neighbours. They're not meeting the guy down the street who runs the butchers, or the woman who works as a GP or whatever. And so they're not getting out of their bubble. This is a big thing in the UK, isn't it? We talk about people being stuck in their bubble. And back in the day, if you went to the pub with your mates and you came out with something absolutely horrible or disgusting or really, really stupid, your mates would slap you down. Not physically, but, they'll say, don't be such a dickhead. What, the world's bloody flat? Are you insane? How would anything work? But that person who thinks the world's flat now gets on the internet, finds someone on the other side of the planet, of the spherical planet, who thinks the same way. and so they get the crazy idea reinforced. So I'd like to see more.
Yeah,
I'd like to see more community engagement through our politics and just through organisation of stuff, but also first past the post needs to go. We need to bring in proportional representation, and I know that means giving seats to the likes of Nigel Farage, but so be it. I'd rather do that because in the last Femi did a video, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago, where he showed that like in all the elections since the Second World War, or whenever it was, the Tories have only won like a couple of them. Actually got more than 50% of the vote. Usually the right-wing parties get less than 50% of the vote, but because of our first past the post system, they romp home. Yeah, they're the two things that I would sort of concentrate on a bit.
And you AllShorts?
I thought what regarding
a political system changing.
Well, we need obviously proportional representation's got to be the first, isn't it? But first, we need to make sure the message that's given out to the people, it starts at Parliament. There's truth in Parliament. The idea that you can blatantly, lie in Parliament is ludicrous. You obviously had Dawn Butler, and even Blackford, he had to go. We need a system that stops them from being able to lie in Parliament. It starts at the ground up, and also with the media, for instance, we need to have. We've got to take the rug away from underneath the media, so they don't. There's no reason for them to propagate lies. Take the money away.
That's a lot of work.
Oh well, yeah, I know it's impossible, but it ain't going to happen anyway because whoever's in charge, whoever's in power, is going to maintain their power, and the system supports that. Yeah. At that moment, it's just the Tories. So it's not going to change. I think we've got to have to work with what we've got. The idea that we're going to get proportional representation, I think it's for the birds. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
I think that the only way in the next few years it could happen is that Labour gets its head out of its arse, as do the Lib Dems and the Greens, and they all work together in the next election with Plaid Cymru and with the SNP to ensure the Tories do not get a majority. And then the deal is that they only do it for that one election. They stand aside for that one election. And then after that, they go for proportional representation. And don't give people a vote on it, because we had a vote on an alternative, on the AV vote, alternative vote system, where you put 1, 2, 3 instead of an X in one box, which we actually use in this country in various places. They use it up in Scotland. They use it for mayoral elections in London and stuff. But apparently it was too complex for the people of Britain, so we rejected it. But I felt like it was a daft question to ask. It's a bit like asking people if they wanted to leave the EU. I think it was just a daft question. And one of the things that I would like to say about referendums, and one of the things that we're seeing now as a result of the EU referendum, is that the people in charge can now blame the people for the results of what they voted for, instead of the cowboys who lied to them. It'll be a land of milk and honey. And you're seeing this now. You're seeing statements coming from departments of the government saying, yeah, well, there's food shortages, but it's what the people voted for. And you're like, fuck off.
Let's jump to some more. Let's jump to some more super chats. We have one from No DLC. Thank you so much, No DLC. Here's for boiling seawater with power from solar panels. You could do that. Yay.
Big Sound Nation at the same time.
We have. I let that go one moment. We have another super chat from AN98. Thanks so much for that. Cheers. House of Lords be reformed, retained, or removed? Removed. AllShorts?
I
Depends who's in it.
think we should have an upper chamber.
Ian Botham
have an upper chamber, but not full of people who tweet pictures of their own cocks.
No Harry Baronesses.
So would you have an elected chamber or an unelected chamber?
Oh, I've been elected, obviously.
Elected. And what you could do is you could have a lower chamber which is constituency based, and then an upper chamber that's regional based. So using proportional representation.
That's interesting. Because I'm actually supportive of an unelected chamber, because I'm afraid that if it's elected, if you look at what's happening in the United States, where you have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate, they're basically the same, and the politicians vote exactly the same way. So there's actually no real benefit in having two chambers, for example, in the United States, because the Senate is elected. But I'm thinking if you had unelected, perhaps people would... Now, I'm not giving the House of Lords as an example because that's a terrible example, but if you had an unelected second chamber, you would hope that they would vote not according to the party, but according to the best interest of the country.
There are good people in the Lords as well, like Andrew Donis and people like that. You know, they're not all arseholes.
No, they're not. I'm not saying they are, but I think that the American system is really bad. That someone's put a note in, I know we're going to come to it, about Britain not having a written constitution, which is a really, really good point. But if we do have a constitution, it's got to be a living constitution that we can actually change without needing, the hell to emerge or the sun to black out or something. I don't know how America is ever going to change anything in its constitution.
Is that going to be in that?
The Equal Rights Act of 1973 still hasn't been passed.
The Americans
in a couple of years.
The Americans could do it very easily, but for some reason they've decided not to. They could make Costa Rica and Washington D.C. states, and then the Democrats would have a majority, and they could do whatever the hell they wanted. But they don't want to do that for some reason.
It would be nice to know why they don't want to do that, because it surely would be in their interest.
Yeah,
they could also split California into 8 different regions and then get a load more senators in that way, into 8 more states, I should say. But the American system is it's fundamentally flawed, and it winds me up when people say, oh, when you look at somewhere like Afghanistan, or you look like Egypt or Syria, and people say, oh, they're not ready for democracy yet, they're not ready for democracy, which I think really patronizing and very much of that imperial mindset of like, we should go over there and educate the savages, which is just horrible. I don't think anywhere's can't cope with democracy. It's just that there's lots of different types of democracy. We live in a monarchical parliamentary democracy in the UK with a ceremonial monarchy. But there's loads of different ways of doing it. We have a bicameral system here where we've got the House of Lords and the House of Commons, but other places have a unicameral system where it's just one house. But one of the ways that people do democracy that really pisses me off is the presidential model. The people who have picked up America's model for having one man, and it's invariably a man, so much power, not a ceremonial role as head of state, but like so much power. The head of the army, the head of the FBI, the CIA, head of the Air Force, the military, and they get to veto anything that Congress wants to do. How can you give that much power to one human being? It's insane. So that annoys me, because a lot of people, especially when something bad happens in like, say, America, they'll rally around the flag, they'll rally around the president. And we saw this at 9/11. The guy was sleeping on the job. 9/11 wouldn't have happened with a more competent president in charge who wasn't away playing golf at the time, when the intelligence was coming in that people were plotting something. So I feel very strongly that if we're going to have different flavors of democracy, and Max, you were alluding to the Swiss version, which is very referendum driven. I don't know if Britain's right for that, although I will concede that at a local level, referendums make sense. I just don't think they make sense at a national level. And those big questions will always be thrown back.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, it's not a one size fits all. In
America and in Germany, I believe that national referendums are not actually allowed. You're allowed to have state referendums or regional referendums, which is that's something I'd really agree with, because that engages people on local issues. Again, going back to the whole building communities up again.
Okay, we better hurry up, because it's getting late, and don't want to keep you guys from doing whatever you normally do at this time. We have
normally presenting a live show, so on my channel. There it works.
This is from the Unknown, so it's Unknown. £5. Thank you so much, Unknown.
Yes.
Here's the birth of the USA private healthcare medical insurance model in the UK. The health and care premium. Too important to ignore. Yes, it's so depressing about how quickly and how easily the NHS is being sold off to private companies, and how it's, these things are not easily reversed, and it's as if people don't care.
No.
I think people don't know. I think a lot of people don't know enough about it, and it does seem complex. And the NHS is a big thing. Whenever we deal with like big numbers or big institutions, I think people's brains just shut down because they can't deal with the size of it. But yeah, I think the unknown's completely correct. We're heading to that. America has the worst healthcare system in the world. There's the way it's set up costs more money than just having a fucking NHS. It's per person. It's insane, and they don't cover everyone. Just the money that they spend on Medicaid and Medicare costs more money the US taxpayer than proportionately than
start with PFI and the procurement. The amount of money that's wasted in procurement with the PFI hospitals is ludicrous. Now, my son is a nurse, and a box of latex, neoprene, gloves, and he gets through a box a day, in and out to see every single patient. Blah blah blah. New pair of gloves in the bin. So at least a box a day. Well, when you consider how many nurses there are with obviously in the NHS, and these boxes of gloves, they're only £5 to £10 a box. Well, in some cases, the hospital, even in the Norwich hospital, which is a PFI hospital, the University Hospital in Norwich, they're paying £35 to £40 per box. Everything's marked up. The intravenous kits they use one little bit of it, comes in the big old kit, and the rest of it goes in the bin because they've opened it. It's all done to try and to extract more money all the time. It's ludicrous. And we need to be looking at procurement, because the amount of money wasted just on the gloves, I did work out before, and it was a crazy amount of money every single week because of the volume of nurses and doctors within the NHS. Just on rubber gloves. It's ludicrous. Millions and millions and millions of pounds every single week just on rubber gloves. So unless we can get on top of that, we're not going to sort out, obviously, streamline the budget for the NHS. Never mind the £350 million a week. I was written on the side of the bus.
Let's move on. We have another question from George. George, will Patel try to limit the internet? Will Pretty Patel?
Pretty ugly.
I'd like to see her try. Chinese try and limit the internet. There's no Facebook apparently in China. There is. I mean, VPNs exist.
Could you eventually see Brexiteers trying to censor free speech?
Yes. They're already doing it. I mean, you saw the response to women who were holding a vigil for Sarah Everett, who had been brutally raped and murdered by a police officer. The way that the police responded to that compared with when these anti-vax lunatics, anti-masks, anti-lockdowners are running around London completely unopposed, and the police are just going, don't worry about it. Priti Patel wants to make it illegal to be annoying to her. So if she personally finds you annoying, you could end up getting fined 10 grand or being thrown in jail. This new statute law that they want to bring in, that is just disgusting, where it'll give you up to 10 years in jail for in some way damaging the statue that's worth less than £5,000. If someone makes a fiberglass statue of Jimmy Savile and puts it up in the middle of a city, and someone says, that's a bit rum, let's take that down, and does it themselves, they could actually go to jail for longer than a rapist for doing that.
That statue, that bill you're talking about, it's not just that, is it? It also takes away things like right to roam and all sorts of stuff. It's actually quite all-encompassing.
Making noises near the House of Commons and stuff like this.
Yeah.
The Steve Bray law brought in just to attack one individual. A British law brought in to stop one individual.
Not the way he wanders in the background with his little
He's a legend. He's an absolute legend. But I mean,
have you met him?
Steve, yeah, of course. I've got his number. Give him a call if you want. But yeah, we met loads of times on the marches and things, and spoke a lot together on platforms, on people, on megaphones. Stop Brexit! I've been told not to turn this on when I'm doing a live show because it gets too loud in people's ears. But yeah, no, he's got the courage of his convictions, unlike most of the politicians that we have to deal with on a daily basis, unfortunately. But yeah, that law in particular is very, very, very disturbing. I'll give you an example. There's a statue of a guy, Charles Stuart Vane. It's in the middle here of Durham. It's in the Durham city centre, and it's this big.
Next to Spectators.
He's on a horse with a big stupid hat, and this guy was responsible for the deaths of hundreds, possibly thousands, of Durham children. This is a guy in 1841. He was a big mine owner in Durham, and he actually stood up in the House of Commons, and obviously it's all been kept on Hansard, so we know what he said. And he basically argued strenuously that they should continue to allow 8-year-olds to work down his mines, because he said the holes were big enough for a grown man. It wouldn't be economically sustainable to have to just, employ grown-ups to go down in a hole for 8 hours a day and dig out stuff and die of black lung at the age of 27. It's an absolute disgrace. That's the guy who famously, he was the Marquis of Londonderry. And he's got a big stately home in Northern Ireland, and it's National Trust now. He gave about £2.50 to the Irish Potato Famine Relief Fund. At the same time, he spent the equivalent of 13.2 million putting up his nice house in Northern Ireland. The Irish people were starving to death. There's this fucking statue of him. I want that pulled down. I don't know why there's a statue of him. Now they're saying, you can't do that, Graham. You can't pull down statues because then people won't know stuff about history. Fuck off.
No.
If you want to know stuff about history, go and get a degree in history, like what I did.
I feel like calling to GB News when they're talking about statues. I'm going to ask them this question: Do you know who Saddam Hussein is? And they say, yes, of course, I know who Saddam Hussein is. I say, how can you know who Saddam Hussein is? Don't you know that his statue was pulled down in Baghdad? How the hell can you know who he is if? It's just a ridiculous argument about how, it's history. Oh, we need to maintain this statue. It's not it's an aspect of history, but it's not the history itself. Okay, let's move. We have a super chat. Norwegian super chat from Son of Viking, who says, "Do AllShorts and the other guy reckon that it might be a good idea for Britain to stop pretending it has a constitution? Might help next referendum."
Yeah, that's the comment that I picked up on a little bit ago. Yeah, we need to have a written constitution. We've got to get one because it's too easy for a government to get in and change everything. We did this with the referendum. We changed the constitution of the country. The government barely had a majority. Now that's it. Now for the next few decades, our entire culture is going to be dominated by this decision that was taken by.
Yeah, but what would you have?
Not even all of the governing party, because not everyone in the governing party. What would you have in the
Constitution? The right to bear arms?
No, of course not.
The right to squirrel arms?
Constitutions. It's to do with how the institutions of your country are set up. Democratic institutions of the countries are set up. Then the rules for not lying in Parliament, for instance. So many things in the UK are just convention. And Dominic Cummings has gone through all those conventions with a fine-tooth comb, and he said to Boris Johnson before they fell out, you can do what you like. You do what you like. You do this, you can do that. Can't stop you. You can lie your arse off in Parliament, and no one will throw you out. If someone calls you a liar for lying in Parliament, they'll get thrown out.
How can we deal with this? I know it's not related to the Constitution, but lying in Parliament. What can we? I've thought of. Why can't somebody stand up in Parliament and say, Boris Johnson is not a liar? And then they'll be asked, okay. And then they should ask, sorry, do I need to correct the record because I told a lie?
A lie, yeah.
I like that.
And then ask the speaker, should I correct the record? Yes or no? Because I lied. I misled Parliament about Boris Johnson not being a liar. something like that. I don't know. Or somebody in my chat in the stream one time said Keir Starmer should, when he asks a question and Boris Johnson doesn't answer, Keir Starmer should remain seated and wait. And when the speaker says Keir Starmer, he should say, "No, I'm waiting for the Prime Minister to answer the question. He hasn't answered the question," and wait and challenge the speaker. Do something.
But also not just in Parliament. Not be funny, but you look at the media at the moment, and their own media in the sense of, well, YouTube. Even my own little channel, it has a lot more views than what Labour does, and they've got far more subscribers than I've got. Your views are looking crazy in comparison. Yeah. Well, all of us, we've all got more views on our channel regarding YouTube. It's such an opportunity to actually for them, but they published last thing they published like 6-8 weeks ago.
Why don't they just say to a different bias, a different bias? Why don't they just say to him, you can make your live shows, but we're just going to put the Labour logo in the corner and we're going to put it on the Labour channel?
Yeah, or something.
Phil's a huge supporter of Labour. He's not going to say anything that's
quality though. You can't. It's got to be good production quality. You can't.
Yeah. I mean, look, this setup here, this table I got off Gumtree for a tenner. The wall back there is just painted with cheap green paint I got from B&Q for like $7.50. It's not that hard to set something up that looks a little bit better than GB News.
A little bit.
And not a table full of ginger stuff.
A bit more professional. But I love your man cave. Your man cave's
AllShorts video when there's something you're always like, oh look, I found something new in the background. It's like a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah. Stanley Kubrick, a bit popcorn orange.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm gonna have to get myself a pump, like a boob, with milk.
We better continue. George sent another super chat. Thanks so much for that, George. Check the one before. I think I read it out. Richard Prosser, we have another one. We need a strategy for success. What is it? Yeah, that's an easy question. What is the strategy for success? I guess it depends on what issue we're talking about. Is it about getting Labour into power? Is it about ending Brexit? Is it about undoing Brexit? What is it?
The problem is there's a trap, isn't there? It's like we need money. That's it. We need money. Because the other side have got shitload. They've got an unlimited supply of money. That gives them the power, all the power that they need. And the problem is, there's a great question on QI once, was how do you get a lifelong voter to vote Conservative overnight? And no one can answer. He goes, have them win the lottery.
Graham, you've got to get rid of lobbying. You can't have lobbying. Simple as that.
Politicians can't have a second job. How the hell can these politicians sit on the board of directors of an oil company and they're making decisions that affect the future of the country? Can you have another job if you're an MP? I'm sorry, they get paid $80,000 a year or something ridiculous. I mean, that's enough. That's enough to live on.
I don't mind them having a job as long as it's not a conflict of interest.
No, I don't want them to have another job. Their job should be full-time being an MP. It's their job. That's it. They can't have another job. That's the way it is in most other jobs that I'm aware of. Are that high-powered?
Police and what have you.
Yeah, no, I agree. They can't have another job because we hope that there isn't a conflict of interest, but there is always a conflict of interest.
Always be a conflict.
Because if you work for PPE supplier and then you happen to be a member of Parliament, well, of course you're going to make sure that your company gets the contract. That's what it's about. That's mainly why they probably hired you in the first place.
I think the first step though is we need to get Labour to change their... Look, Labour are the only show in town. They're the only party capable of taking on the Tories in a year's time in the next general election. We need Labour to change their constitution so they can stand down candidates in constituencies that they've got no chance of winning. All they do at the moment in these constituencies that are Tory blue, they take You take votes from the Lib Dem candidate, and the Lib Dem candidate doesn't get in, and the Tory gets in. And in return, the Lib Dems can stand down in Labour seats where they just take votes off the Labour Party.
That's what
That's the Greens as well.
Sorry, AllShorts.
Sorry, mate. I don't think. Well, for a start, I don't think they're going to get in for a good long while anyway. I think there's a possibility we might end up with another Tory government, not necessarily with the same leadership.
What I find frustrating,
things are going to get so bad with Brexit, especially with Brexit, that it's very hard to maintain any kind of reputation. I could see that. I could see Boris Johnson for a start. I could see him disappearing.
But with Brexit, the Labour Party need to take the bull by the horns and say, this is, go to constituencies, meet with business owners, meet with members of staff, say the reason you're suffering is because of Brexit, and Brexit is Boris Johnson's fault. Of course, then they have to. Well, if somebody asks them, did you support it? Yeah, sort of, but they need. But what I also find frustrating is that, for example, Novara Media, which have a huge platform, and they spend more, from what I see, they spend more of their time complaining about Keir Starmer than they do about Brexit, about the Conservatives, about, trying to defeat the Tories. They seem more interested in saying, okay, Keir Starmer is a problem. We need to get rid of Keir Starmer and put Jeremy Corbyn back in place or something like that. But that's not going to fix it. Even if Jeremy Corbyn could be parachuted in tomorrow, do these people really believe that that's going to fix the problem, that that's going to win them elections?
No, we need a shake-up. We need to get rid of these people who are currently at the top, and we need to find replacement, someone not just reputable, but somebody who people can relate to. People can't relate to Keir Starmer. People can't really. Not be funny. A lot of people can't really relate to Boris Johnson, apart from he's a fluffy idiot.
People do relate to Boris Johnson, though. That's the sad thing. They think that he's their mate. They want to go down the pub with him and have a good laugh. He's a good times Prime Minister. You're right. Keir Starmer just hasn't made that connection with the electorate, and he could get away with that if he had some great policies. But I don't know any policies that he's got at the moment that are, groundbreaking or interesting or going to set the world on fire. Good way.
Well, this is what I saw with Ed Miliband. When he filled in for Keir Starmer, and Boris Johnson was cowarding. He really was cowarding in Prime Minister's questions. Pete didn't show that kind of passion when he was the leader.
Yeah.
Of
we have another super chat from Son of Viking. Thank you so much again, Son of Viking. Can I ask us the same question again and hear the answer from the others, not just Graham? Thanks. Constitution referendum. I'd support a written constitution. I don't know what would have to be put into it because I'm not very experienced with those sort of things. But I think there should be at least some Bill of Rights. Things like, okay, these are the things. These are general rules that must be respected. Right to a trial of your peers, things like that. I don't know if this is already something that's, but as Britain doesn't have a written constitution, I don't know if that's something that's there or not. But the idea, I like the idea of the Americans in a way, not the sort of lunatic fringe, but the American idea of you can get a little booklet with the Constitution, and if somebody arrests you, you can open it up and say, hey, wait a minute, it's written here, you can't do this to me or whatever. I have the right written here. Something like that. But I agree with Graham, where it has to be a living constitution. It can't be something that, as he said, is almost impossible to change.
How would you change it? Would you put it to the people?
I think by referendum, or at least maybe a supermajority or something in Parliament to change.
It could be a supermajority referendum.
So not like
if it's consensus.
Yeah, like
thing.
Here in Italy, like you have a quorum, so you have at least a certain number of people also have to turn out. You can't just have a constitutional change with 1% of the population voting on it. There has to be at least a percentage of people coming out to vote and a percentage victory. So something like that. AllShorts, do you have any comments about that?
I kind of agree, to be honest, but you've got to start from the ground up. start with the basics first. Like, do not lie in Parliament, for instance. Do not kill thy neighbour. I don't know. It's just basic, really.
I like what Max said about the Bill of Rights, having positive rights, because nearly all of the laws in the UK are negative. They're all like, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. You're allowed to do what there's no law against, but yeah, having positive rights would be a step change in the way Britain perceives itself. And yeah, you should have a right to say that, this is the Constitution.
Control of your own body, such as abortion rights and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because what's going on in America is just disgraceful.
With constitutions, it's something that I've changed my opinion on as I've got older. Like when I was younger, I thought it was good that we could change our constitution really easily because I like the idea of a living constitution. But at the same time, I didn't expect a bunch of cowboys to get in who would literally swing the lead on like literally everything they can get away with. They're getting away with right now. Dormant and second jobs and on holiday and not telling anyone when they went on holiday and having sex with an American who you've given £128,000 to on the couch while your wife's suffering from cancer.
She's a pole dancer.
People we have in charge.
He want that in the Constitution.
I want that in the Constitution that every man should be able to cheat on his wife. The trollop from America. I mean, I'm not saying that in a sort of sexist way. She took £128,000 of taxpayers' money for IT lessons. Fuck off.
Oh, that's just rubbish. That wasn't IT lessons. That's just bullshit.
I just go back just before we go on because someone picked me up on the fact that I said foreign millionaires who run our media. I say that they are British. They just live in other countries, apart from Rupert Murdoch, who's never been British. But he's got more power. He's got more power over Britain than any British person.
Right, but if you think like the amount of money that's funding the Tories at the moment, a lot of it's Russian money, and the only reason they're allowed to donate to the Tory party is because they're being given citizenship within the UK. Otherwise, it wouldn't be allowed.
Some of them are sitting in the House of Lords.
Yeah. It's madness. The whole thing is just a big scam. And we need to start from
the Constitution.
We need to start again. We need a clean slate.
What would you put in
successful guys?
What would you put in?
What would I put in? Oh, we'll see. I can't say.
Well, everyone want the super chats back if you...
No, I'm sorry. The super chats are non-refundable. I should have said that at the beginning. Thanks very much for that, Son of Viking. We also have GC. Thank you so much for that £5. And we have one more super chat. I think we'll have to stop there because it's getting very late. Ginger's Giraffes says, I live in the eastern USA, work from home, and have 2 monitors. I will stream you guys on Ginger all day on my second monitor. Yay! So there we have it. So you're going to have someone streaming your... And that's $25. Thank you so much for that. That's all going to the solar panel and other fund that will keep these guys going. So guys, I think there were some other questions, but I don't think we'll have time to get to them because we've been on for over 2 hours now. I think we got up to about 300 or maybe 400 viewers, so that's fantastic. So remember, guys, the guys are going to be on Ginger Island for 6 weeks, not 6 months, 6 weeks. Hopefully they both last at the time. No, they'll be having a great time. They'll be bonding in many ways, and I think they're going to have some very interesting live streams and very interesting content coming out of there. Hopefully it's all rated PG. So, sorry.
Would you be happy to come and join us for one of our
I'd love to
parlays when we sit down and have a chat?
Cool. Yeah, it'd be like 3 men in a pub in a
3 men on a tropical island.
3 men in a mankini.
Yes. So I want to say
obsessed with mankinis.
Yeah. As I said, it's going to be six long weeks. So guys, I want to say thanks to everyone who came on the stream tonight. Thanks for all of your super chats. As soon as I have all the data, I'm going to post it up on the community page to see how much we've got. Thanks so much to everyone for that. Thanks, of course, to the guests, Graham Hughes and AllShorts, Marcus, for coming on tonight. Do check out their channels and their streams going forward. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Thank you in your hat.
Thank you for letting us on. Thank you for letting us on. It was a pleasure. Really appreciate it, Max.
So anyone who's a Patreon of mine can get on to Discord, and we'll probably have a bit of a chinwag after on Discord. The two guys are, of course, invited. And I'll see everyone next Tuesday. Next week we're probably going to have the live stream a little bit earlier, but I post something on the community page about that. Probably at 8 p.m, not 9:30, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'll see you all next Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everyone. And if you guys want to say goodbye or anything before we go.
Well, ta-ta.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting us on. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Watch my video with Anne Widdicombe and a cucumber.
Oh, don't watch his video. It's so disturbing. Yeah, I'll be heading over to the Rejoin EU Discord server. I think, Max, are you going over to your server at the moment, or what are you doing?
Yeah,
I'm going over to yours then. I do put in a guest appearance on you.
Cool. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Legend. Love you all.
Who is she?